Oh, welcome to another episode of the Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. If you're doing a cold outreach and you want to do deliverability correctly, then you hit the link in the description of this video. But without them, it would not be possible to interview awesome people like Ismail. Nice to meet you. What's happening?
Happy to be here, Blake. Nothing. It's nice weather, I'm coding, so I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
Coding in nice weather. And where are you based again?
Sweden, based out of Sweden. It's summer here now, so, a lot of light. It never gets dark, basically. So it's light until like 12 in the night, and then it becomes like dark 2, 3 hours, and then it's light again. So it's pretty
Well,
sick.
well, that must help, I guess, if you're spending around 20 to 22 hours a day
Yeah,
coding.
that does help. And it also helps that there's a bunch of AI that does the code for you. That also helps.
That's very good, very good. Well, just a burning question before we get into the introduction. How is the startup scene over in where you're located?
It's good, man. Lovable is a Swedish company. I was in my YC batch. Everybody
That's
knows
awesome.
about Lovable. I think they hit like 50 million ARR, six months after launch or something. So, I mean, I think that they're doing very well. They are like in a new category, I would say, building products for people that want to build products that previously couldn't build products, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. A Swedish company, of course. You have like Spotify and that huge company, but then you have other companies as well. Again, in my batch, I think it was a legal AI company called Legora, which is also doing pretty well, and some other startups in the fintech ecosystem. Fintech is pretty big here, I would say. So a lot of players there as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good. It's not like SF though. So when I say it's good, I don't mean San Francisco good. At least not the community, and I don't think anything else either. If you want to build and if you want to feel the vibe, I think San Francisco is the best place.
Well, I mean, it's cool to learn that there's still, despite whatever the orientation of the community is, there's still people building. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's still people like you, so that's cool. Well, if you want to just give a quick introduction of yourself and
Yeah. So
what
my
you're
name is
building, what Super
Ismail.
Agent is.
Yeah, and I'm the CTO and founder of Superagent. So I started that company together with my colleague Alan, who is the CEO. We've been working together for the past 14 years. This is our third startup, so we know what it means to pivot around and that whole game. We started working a lot with AI agents back before ChatGPT was launched, and we
Sure.
built a open source framework that got a bit of traction and led us to basically go to YC, and that was the winter 24, so 2024. And we graduated by YC, raised the pre-seed round, and currently working on making coding agents that vibe coders use 10 times more effective. So that's the product that we have today. That's called Superagent, and it's currently used by around 100 companies. It's in closed beta. So yeah, that's a bit about me and Superagent and what we're trying to achieve.
Cool. Well, I think the topic of vibe coding is very hot because a lot of people are doing it, and I learned of it might have even been on this podcast, but I can't remember now. I learned of this story of a guy who went viral on whatever platform, Twitter or LinkedIn or something, vibe coded completely SaaS that generated a bunch of because he wasn't a coder, didn't understand that the security framework was shit, and all this data wasn't secure, and so he got hacked, and essentially all the financials of the company, like it just blew up in flames. And I wish I had more specifics for you.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
anyway, I just think that's if you could speak on, because I have two questions. I mean, it is interesting how you guys envision making them better, but I am just curious, like conceptually speaking, how you feel about the concept of vibe coding, like coming up with a product that potentially creates data for people and then not knowing, because I myself wouldn't know how to do that, if I vibe coded using Lovable or something. or super agent if something was actually sound, front end, back end, full stack, stuff like that. So how do you feel about the concept of vibe coding and people bringing businesses into the world through
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so conceptually, I view vibe coding more as, a tool or a process really that allows people that weren't able to write code before. They are now able to, write or have a machine write code that builds whatever app they want to build, right? And so there are different levels of vibe coding. So you have like the, more of the B2C kind of vibe coding where you have someone that's building a app. It's a single person company, it's a startup. That person doesn't have a technical co-founder. So that's one category of vibe coding. Then you have, bigger companies like OpenAI. They use their own vibe coding tool to make pull requests to their products that they have. That's another different type of vibe coding, which is more constrained, I would say, which has more guardrails around what the model has to pass through for tests before any code goes to production. And that mitigates a lot of the issues with security and data leakage and stuff like that. So there are different, levels of vibe coding. I think all levels are interesting, and I think companies like Lovable, Replit, V0 are targeting the more of a consumer type of vibe coder. And then there are other companies like Devin, OpenAI, etc., that target enterprise vibe coders, if you would call them that, or B2B vibe coders. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's here to stay. I think it's awesome, and I think it means that more people can become entrepreneurs, which is also awesome. That's something we need, and it will definitely have a big impact on programming and also a bunch of other stuff, I would imagine. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good thing. I think you have to keep in mind that humans that write code also do mistakes. It's not like humans are perfect and AI are, suck. And if I would bet that an AI can become better than a human at coding. So why not bet on that? I mean, it just makes sense, right?
Yeah, so that's cool. I appreciate you explaining that because to me, before that explanation, vibe coding to me was just the B2C aspect, like the Lovable. You show up and you spend 30 minutes prompting it. You have an interface, you connect to Supabase, whatever, and then you launch it. That to me. But it's cool that there's different levels of it. So when you say enterprise vibe coding, does that mean, because there's already people that use AI agents to augment their work, right? So is that what you mean by that, or is that different? Like
No,
Copilot or something?
in that category, the B2B category, there are two different type of agents, you could say. There's one agent that you call like a co-pilot that lives inside of Cursor or VS Code, where you basically have it, you write code, it writes code, you instruct it. It's a playful type of way of, back and forth type of way of writing code.
Sure.
And then there's another way of doing it, which is a more async way to write code. So basically, what you do then is that you just send a command to an agent that runs in the background. You don't even have any interaction with it, or at least much fewer interaction points with the agent. And so it runs off, it does its thing, and then it creates like a pull request to your repository, to your product, and that's another way of doing it. So yeah, there are two different like categories in that category, I would say. And we work a lot with this later category where the agents run in the back.
Got it. Super helpful. So I'm curious, and I have more questions about your perspective as a founder because you've done it so many times. But the first one would be when you and your co-founder were thinking about launching this venture and doing things like that. How is it that you arrived at this direction, at this niche strategically? Like, yeah, kind of that story.
I mean, it started off with we were very early with building agents. We built agents for all kinds of different things, different use cases, and where everybody saw that these agents excelled was at programming. So it makes sense that you have a lot of companies working with, AI generated coding like Cursor, Windsurf. There's a whole ecosystem of companies working with that. I think it's just a natural step in the proliferation of AI, and it sort of starts with developers or coding, so to speak. So it makes sense. later on there will be other, permutations of this, and you would see other type of companies pop up in other markets, in other ecosystems. So yeah, that's basically, so it's very interesting. It's a lot of stuff happening. The models are getting increasingly better at being agentic, better at doing work for humans. So it's really interesting.
Somebody with my perspective, I think a lot of people in the community listening are also um, potentially more strategic focused, more growth focused. I think on average, probably less technical. So if so let's just take me for example. Let's say I wanted to stay on top of the waves and all this media and stuff coming in. Like from your perspective, being on the inside, being one of these companies that people are talking about and is making waves, how would you suggest following? I guess where and who, like what's relevant to me?
I mean, I say like depending on your interest, the level, like how technical you want it, or if you're more on the consumer side of it, so to speak. I would say like X is the best place to follow news, AI news. There's AI news, like all of the big companies that are building models and AI stuff that you guys can use to build your products or build your business. All of that is announced on X before anywhere else. So, or Twitter. I would say that like that's a good place to do it, but you need to be careful who you follow, right? Like any other social media channel, you need to curate a list of people that you find interesting, that do interesting stuff, and that's not only like marketing or influencing, because there's a lot of that as well, like in any hot market, I would say. So I think that's the best way of doing it. Then I also think like trying all the new products is something that I do all the time, just to get a feel for what these products are capable of, how I can leverage it myself in my business. I think that's very important, and I think that's the key part of surviving as well. You need to be up to date with all the tools and all the new products and stuff in order to survive. That's basically it. And so that would be my 2 cents on what to follow and what to do.
Cool. So when you say, because I'm of the same opinion, I don't think I probably do it to the extent that you would. I'm actually probably very confident about that. But I do find myself uh, coming across different AI powered solutions and trying them myself, but without the technical background on it. I just feel like I've gotten through trial and error, gotten better at testing them out. But what would you say is like a way to go about testing out a new AI solution that would do that tool justice, where you would actually be able to test whether or not it is valuable to you. Have you heard of Cortex?
No, what's
So
that?
it's just, yeah, I think there's a number of companies doing this, but it's just it's oriented towards creators, specifically helping them develop their business models and things like this. But it's basically you sign up for a subscription and you, I guess allegedly, I'm not 100% sure, but you have access to all of the different chats like ChatGPT and Claude and
Oh yeah.
Gemini and things like that.
Yeah.
As far as so let's just say you come across, and you can fill in the blank with any company, but let's just say you come across a new tool and you say, oh, this could be very valuable to me. Are there any steps like that you would take in order to actually get an answer of whether that's valuable to you? Because I feel like sometimes I don't interact with these AI agents in a correct way, and therefore I don't get the value out of it that I could be, just because I don't have that
Exactly.
understanding.
Exactly. I think that's a good observation, and that's actually the same observation that we have. The same goes for me. I don't use them perfectly either. Nobody really knows what the perfect way is. So it's a lot of trial and error. You don't you know, and it's a lot of like insights that you have that someone else might not have, right? So it's not a standard way of doing things. There are different models, different products work differently. You need to talk to the AI differently. You need to give it different commands and all of that stuff. So one thing, and this gets like, for you might be doing some research. You might be doing, usually it's pretty, data heavy, simple tasks. Coding is a completely different type of task, and you have the same issue there. But you need to be very specific in coding. Like, let's say I want to build, I want to add a button to my app that I'm building, right? You need to be specific about what that button should do, where it should be placed, how it should look. So you need to actually spec out what you want, right? And you need to do that in a very good way. So how do I do that? For coding, I do it through Superagent. That's what Superagent does. It helps me take a simple prompt and then expand that prompt and make that prompt 10 times better, and then feed it to the whatever service I'm using for coding, right? So the same thing you can do with ChatGPT. You can actually use ChatGPT to first create an instruction of what you want to do, and then feed that instruction back into ChatGPT or any other model or any other service that you are providing. I do that a lot when I generate images, as an example. With ChatGPT, you can generate images, and I do a bunch of work with the prompt prior to actually running it. And I get better results. I get 10 times better results than someone that is not doing that. So there is definitely a way of doing it. And I think that prompting is super important in the actual quality of the service as well. And yeah, I think I think you need to experiment. But if you're gonna onboard yourself on a new product, it better be something that you are really interested in investing time in and setting up and making work, like any other product, right? All products work the same. Some are easier, some are harder, right? Depending on what type of product it is. So I think that, like, if I was an e-commerce right now, I would use AI to do everything, basically. There are products out there that can automate basically everything that you do. Everything from pricing to updating your website to, creating content, blah, blah, blah. All of that can be automated. Customer support can be automated. There's not much left that can't be automated. Marketing would be, I would say, the one thing that perhaps hasn't come as far as the other stuff, but buying ads on different ad networks and payments and that kind of stuff, but that will come eventually. So you better, if you want to survive as an e-commerce or whatever business you have, and you don't leverage these tools, you will lose. That's the problem, right? So you need to actually go out and use everything and find the best sauce, the secret sauce that will make your company grow. So you have to view it like that. Just testing for the sake of testing usually ends up with a bad test because you don't really have a use case for it, right? So, and unfortunately, that's what many people do. So you get something we call AI tourists, basically. People who sign up who are tourists. They're not, they are not running a business, or they are running a business in a completely different thing. So you get a lot of that as well. But I think it's early. People are experimenting, and you should experiment. I think that nobody knows. There's no, cookbook on how to succeed with these tools. So you have to use them all.
Use all of them. So
I
I guess
have
the
I have like 15 apps on my phone. I have all of them,
wow.
dude. I use everything, and it's worth it. I use, different apps for different things.
Yeah. So I guess the two things that I took away from what you're saying is, first, be prepared to invest time, just like you would any other product. And then second, definitely pay a lot of attention, whether it's a new product or one that you're already using, to the quality of prompting, and actually use the AI itself to create a solid prompt for itself.
Exactly, exactly.
And then outside of that, there's not much else as far as general best practices, because everything is unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are no general rules. You have to just make it work. If you really
Okay.
have the, pain point, you will make it work.
All right. So then I guess flipping the perspective from somebody using it to someone now in your position building it, I think
Right.
that the concept of people, because I think any business experiences the phenomenon where somebody that can get value out of their product doesn't use or isn't educated enough to use your product correctly, and so they don't end up getting the value, and then they leave when they very easily could have stayed. And this is accelerated in you know things accessible on the website, product led, low human touch points. So from your guys' perspective, how have you ran into that? How have you dealt with, I guess, the tourists or the lack of education on how to use your product from potential customers? Or even, is that something that you guys are running into at the moment?
Yeah, it is. I would say we are still in that phase where we're trying to figure out what to build and for whom to build it, right? So I think that that's something that, most startups out of YC are in the same situation. So everybody's trying to figure things out, and tourists is a big problem. I think you can solve that pretty easily by just not letting everybody in. being, particular with who you let into your service, perhaps even interviewing them and stuff like that. And I also believe in building openly, so you attract the right type of people by showcasing what you're building. So if you're building something for lawyers, and you can easily like do a screencast of how your product works, share it on LinkedIn or X, and get a bunch of lawyers to use it, right? And you wouldn't get that many tourists if it was a bit more, geared towards a certain type of role, person, whatever. So that's lessons that I think that I'm still learning. So I don't have a clear answer on how to mitigate more than I think that, you have to think of it like this. If you're going to build a company, right now is the best timing to do that, because right now you can get more job done before for less money, right? And so what that means is that for in our position, we can ship product much faster than we could previously, which enables us to iterate much faster than we could previously. So we iterate a lot all of the time until we are happy with the segment that we are in, and until we reach product market fit. Basically, that's the game. That's the game for any business, really. Some businesses have, the luxury of hitting product market fit by having exceptional founders, usually founders that have done it before, and that kind of thing. And but 95% of all the rest of us, we just need to do it the hard way, right? And I think that's the lesson. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is that you can build stuff cheaper, faster than you could before, and so you need to leverage that in order to, build your business.
So, just a quick piece of curiosity before I get to two of my favorite questions for you. It is the idea that you have built two companies. I mean, it's cool that you've done it with the same person. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's even better perspective. I'm curious, given those experiences and given what you're doing now, why was it that you decided to go the YC route this time? And in your experience so far, what has it changed? Like,
The
what really is
reason
the value add?
the reason why we chose to apply to YC and accept, the invitation to join, is that we've done that with every company that we built and got rejected. So this was the third time that we applied, that we got accepted.
Oh,
And the
congrats.
reason about people, I have a friend, actually a successful entrepreneur as well, building his startup, and he has applied 11 times, never got in, but he still has a tech company that's doing well. Shout out to Vashek and E2B.
Shout out.
Shout out. You know, so what is the value add? Well, the value add is that, first of all, whether you like it or not, you need money to build your business, and that's a good way of getting money. And the reason why that's a good way of getting money is that YC does a bunch of due diligence for the investors, which means that the premium goes up and you get a better valuation. That's one part of it. I would say that's a small part of it. The big part is the network and the lessons that you get when you actually go to YC. The network is huge, as you know. A lot of, everyone from Sam Altman to, Gary Tan to anyone, all of the famous people, like all of the great entrepreneurs. You get access to all of them, and you build your own little network, which is invaluable because you're all doing the same thing. You're going through the same journey. And I think also the lessons, YC is good at telling you what not to do and how not to die, you know? So the longer you can stay alive with your company, the greater the chance of success. So they focus a lot on what not to do, which is great. And, there's a bunch of YC haters out there. And to them, I want to say, you're only hating because you didn't get in. That's the only reason why you would hate, right? So, because everybody who's been through YC, they never hate. So that's what I would say to them. And yeah, it's a great experience. If you get the chance to do it, you should definitely do it.
Awesome. So to a lesser extent the money, but more so the network, and then also the lessons of what not to do and how to stay alive.
Of course, it's a
Cool.
combination of those three.
Hey, well, congratulations on this time. I'm excited that
Thank you.
you
Thank
guys are
you.
doing
I'm
that. So
excited as well.
Awesome. So these are so I have two more questions for you, and
Let's
this has
go.
been really awesome. So I appreciate all the and it's so I mean so many more about your previous experiences, but
Hmm.
for I really enjoyed the content that we covered. So the first one is, what is the greatest challenge for you right now, and how is it an opportunity?
Greatest challenge is to find product market fit, build a big company, and be successful. That's the big challenge. The second part of the question was, what advantages do we have? Was that the second part of the question?
How is your challenge also an opportunity?
How is it an opportunity? Well, I think that if you are a builder, this is the best time to build. So that in itself is an opportunity. AI is an opportunity. And I think that if you are working somewhere, and you're tired of what you're doing and you're thinking of starting something, this is the best time to start, basically. And I think it will only get better from here. I don't think it will get worse. I think it will get better. So that's the advantage. It's a specific time, specific point in time, an inflection point. Software is changing. Everything is changing. The world is changing, and you can do a lot of great things when you're in that, when you have time that specific thing, because it doesn't happen that often.
Cool. Well, in this journey that you're doing, and doing all the building that you're doing and applying yourself and all of that, the answer can be small, and it could be something bigger that's more longer term for you. But I'm curious what inspires you.
Technology inspires me. I think that technology will save human beings, and progress in technology is something that I find very inspiring. I think it's the most inspiring thing. There's not that much progress in anything else, really, from what I've seen. So it's the only, field where you get, unbiased, true progress. And so I like that. And yeah, that would be my answer, I think.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, it's definitely inspiring to me. That you're committing yourself and that you're building something cool, and that you chose to spend your time here today in the middle of
Of
all that.
course,
So, if
of
someone's
course.
interested in your story or getting in touch, what's the best way to find you?
Superagent.sh. Just check it out. We have a blog. We write down everything we think and publish it, so you can read about us there, get in contact, join our Discord, all that stuff you can do from Superagent.
Awesome. And what's I guess like a big update? Besides the move to SF, which is cool, just to stay on top of, I guess.
Big updates from us. We'll be releasing a new version of Superagent in a couple of weeks, and
Hey.
it's really cool. What it does is that it basically, you connect all of your sources like your CRM, your support system, your code base, your ticketing system. And we basically have a bunch of agents that go through everything and create signals for you on what to do in order to, what you can do better and what you should fix. And so we basically surface all of that information for you in actionable items, which you can just pass on either to your human team or to your coding agent that can then build that feature for you in your product or whatever. So that's cool. That's something I'm really stoked about.
Sweet. Well, a couple weeks. Stay on
Yeah,
top of
let's
it.
do it. Yeah,
Awesome. Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for the
Thank you for
time today,
having me.
Ismail. Yeah, the conversation was
Thank you
awesome.
for having me.
You
Bye.
got it. See ya.